Here's a clip from a recent episode of Booked on Rock. Bruce Pegg is the author of Welcome Back, My Friends, A People's History of Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. So let's talk about some of the wild stage sets from ELP. On the tour to promote the Tarkus album, there was a full-size tank armed with cannons that fired polystyrene balls into the audience.
You've got it. Yeah, absolutely. It was a mock-up of that armored armadillo. I think that's the joke for it, up on the stage, and it would just fire these little styrofoam balls at everybody, and I heard stories of people having to have to clean out Emerson's organ after one particular show where there was so many styrofoam balls it wouldn't work, and they had to spend a few minutes vacuuming out the organ. So yeah, I mean, and again, Eric, you've got to put this into perspective. I think, this is the early 1970s. We're not talking, Taylor Swift massive arena shows with the pyrotechnics
and Kiss isn't even around yet. We don't even have Kiss.
No, they're not even on the radar at this point, and so, and I think, this band was tailor-made for arena shows, because once you get into arenas, you've got to put on the bigger show. The other thing that came through in some of the stories was their sound too. The Emerson, Lake and Palmer, along with Pink Floyd, were pioneers of quadraphonic sound back in the day, and so you would have those last notes of Carnival 9 on the album, where it's kind of like this grinding, whirring sound, and they would when they finished that particular song, it would go around the auditorium, around all the speakers. So, this is stuff that, again, we just take it for granted now, when we go to see shows. But back in those days, that stuff blew people's mind.
Emerson was like Jimi Hendrix on the keys, right? I mean, just phenomenal musician, but also a great performer. Yeah. Wasn't Emerson and Jimi Hendrix, didn't they have a possible band, right?
There was
Brian Jones too, wasn't it?
I don't know. I'm not sure about Brian Jones, but I know that there was some talk about Hendrix, because that was the point when he was trying to search for new avenues, and the story goes that they did possibly jam together. But yeah,
imagine that.
Oh Lord, that would have melted people's faces, no doubt about it.
Yeah, man. The music on fire, the guitars on fire, the keyboards are on fire. Yeah.
Nowhere to go.
Chapter 2, titled "The Greatest Show in Heaven, Hell, or Earth," November 1973 to August 1974. Now, this is when ELP reached the height of their fame, and you touched upon this. They released the album Brain Salad Surgery in 73, number 2 in the UK, 11 in the US. And here's what you write, quote, "After a 2-month tour of the US and Canada to finish the year, the band went on to play over 70 shows from mid-January to mid-August 1974, including 2 more tours of the US, with a headlining spot in front of 250,000 at the California Jam in April, and 4 nights at Wembley Arena in London that same month. To play the ever larger arenas and stadiums, the band scaled up their shows." So just when you thought that the shows couldn't get bigger and better, right? Talk about what the band did on stage for those shows, because this is where we get the levitating piano.
That's right, levitating piano, the massive artwork at the back as well, of the Brain Salad Surgery cover.
Whose idea was all that? Is that Keith Emerson or the band as a whole?
I think the band as a whole probably did that, because they, like I said earlier, they were aware that they had to do everything had to get bigger. Everything had to get bigger at this point. I was a young kid. I couldn't make back in England in 74, and I couldn't make the Wembley show simply because I was 14 years old, and I couldn't, talk my parents and let me go down to London to see it. From my little perspective in Leicester, where I was born and raised, playing Wembley was just like the pinnacle. I mean, nobody got to do that. And so yeah, these are just everything just scaled up. But, everything gets to a point where it can't get any bigger, and they found that out later on.
Thanks for listening. The full episode is available wherever you get your podcasts.